it makes 2 knots. So up you come, you've got your Teflon floss, so it slides really smoothly. You make your first knot, up you go, back through. Notice I'm holding really tight onto the other end. Give yourself plenty of floss. You want probably 1.5 feet of floss for this. So now we've made our second hole, but look closely. We have 1 knot, 2 knots. We need to make sure those 2 knots join before we then tighten that ligature. The beauty of this ligature is you can tighten with 1 hand. You don't need to use 2 hands on each thread to kind of pull it tight. You can just tighten with 1 hand, and then the other hand can just be there guiding the ligature. And literally all you need to do is just pull, and that knot will go whoop right up the ligature, and pull it nice and tight, and it will just go straight down into that sulcus. Floss goes down, and annoyingly doesn't tear it. So now, look, so she's pushed the dam all the way across, so now it's just 1 thickness of dam going down between the teeth. Can you see? So we haven't created that valley, we're just kind of feeding that dam down through the contact. And this is why the waxed floss is essential, because if you're not using waxed floss, the floss is just going to slide up and down and not do anything. So you push that hole all the way to the side, you get 1 bit of the interproximal dam down, and then you feed it through 1 thickness. And then you can work your way through. Honestly, it works absolutely brilliantly. Lower anteriors, you know when patients have really bad tooth wear and they're flat, and it's impossible to get anything in? I'll be honest, I'm naughty, I don't always floss my clamps, but really it is important, especially if you're going wingless, because you really don't want that clamp going down someone's bronchus. So making sure that it's nicely flossed. When you floss your clamp, that floss should be above the dam, not under, so once it goes, and I'll show you when I get that wrong. But here, look how close together my fingers are. They're right next to that hole, so I'm able to stretch that hole wide enough. If your fingers are not right on the edge of that hole when you're stretching it, you're not going to make that hole wide enough and it will tear as the dam's trying to go over the bow. Stretch it over the bow. Do you see how much of a fiddle it is? We see all these amazing images of everything looking so amazing and serene and blue serenity and great, woo! But actually you see the process of it and it's fiddly as anything. So I think it's so important to see this stuff. So once I'm on my anchor tooth, I always floss either side of the canine. The reason being, it will then just give the anchor tooth a bit of a break. It's kind of giving him a pal to kind of support that dam. At this point now, once I can see that contact is done, in goes the mouth prop, 90% open, remember you don't want to dislocate any jaws, and then on goes the aura shield. You've all got one in front of you, it looks like a Santa beard, it's great in December. I almost kind of want to put a Santa hat on my patients at the same time. On goes the Santa beard, and your patients will love you for that. If anyone's had a rubber dam on, it's a horrible feeling, all of that like wetness. That is just lovely. Frame goes on, we've punched our lower right corner, so on it goes, we can kind of attach all the corners as we need to. The reason I'm putting on the frame at this point is because I now want better access and vision. Immediately I can now see. So now we can do the flossing. So here, this video was done years ago. Here, you can see I'm making a valley. And to be honest, it does work okay, but really you don't want to be doing the valley. You want to be pushing that down kind of out the way. Now it's good, we've got 1 thickness, we're fine. And we're going to work our way down. But if you noticed, when I'm flossing up and down. I'm not going down and then pulling it out with a flourish. If you do that and it's not fully flossed through the contact, you will tear the dam, especially with a waxed floss. So flossing up and down, see how much of a pig this contact was? Some of them you really have to go up and down like 10 times, like patience is so important. Now here, look, it's down, down, so invert a little bit, and now you can pull that floss out. So as you're flossing up and down, another important thing is if you're flossing so hard, if you're putting so much pressure on that when you clear the contact, you then go well into the gum and cause bleeding, you're pressing too hard. You want light pressure, a little bit of back and forth movement. You want to be able to pull that punch before it hits the gingiva. So at this point, that piece of floss should be above the dam, not under. Now this is what I mean by repositioning the clamp. So you tension the dam, you pull the dam away from the tooth, and you let the clamp kind of reposition on the side. And that's why I like this video, because honestly, it takes a few goes to get, and then you're gonna see a mistake and it's wonderful. And yeah, we all learn more from mistakes, don't we, than when things go perfectly. So side to side, again, pull the dam away from the tooth, reposition the clamp. And what you're trying to do is you're pulling the dam away and you're letting it seal up, and then you're just lowering the clamp kind of down. So you are not trying to trap the dam with the clamp. So it's almost like gum, dam, clamp, kind of like a tiramisu. Different layers. So at this point I'm going to floss behind the clamp because sometimes it's important to get that distal contact, which we can do. And look what's happened to the clamp. Did you see that? Did you see how much it just moved there? We tried on that clamp and it was a perfect fit. So is it my fault or is it the clamp? It's my fault. That clamp is, something's on, not right, I must have repositioned it wrong. All of a sudden I tweak it and boom, we're there. The dam is now perfectly sealed around that tooth. There's no gum on show, nothing. So at this point we invert. I used to invert with a flat plastic and it wasn't on my tray one day, so I found my Explorer, the curved one, so much better than the straight one. The straight one you don't get the same kind of control. Get your assistant blowing the air so the tooth is dry. Start on the interproximal and you just use you almost use the flat end of it. You're not poking it down, you're not driving it down. You're just using the Explorer to guide it just round. So perpendicular to the tooth, just sliding around the tooth. Does that make sense? And this, honestly, this Explorer discovery was one of the best accidental discoveries. Do both sides, buccal and the lingual. And now our dam looks lovely. And that's the kind of stuff that we see in journals, on papers, in books, on Instagram, all that kind of thing. And you think, oh God, rubber dam, I hate it, mine never looks like that. Did you see what kind of a picture that was? Like, as it's going on, it's not pretty. So that is everyday dam, that's in your book. So it's normal, we just do as we did before. So those two go on together. So let's say you're doing upper edge bonding on the front 6 teeth, that's how you do it. Upside down frame, dam, on together. Also, if you were doing like a lower bonded retainer, again, frame and dam, on together, on it goes. Sometimes you don't even need clamps in those cases. If I'm working on the front 10 teeth, often I don't use a clamp. Just flossing the dam up the distal of the second premolar, that will hold it enough. As soon as I'm going into molar territory, punch a triangle, basically, okay? So now we've got our dots, no dogs, hopefully. So now we punch our holes. If you want to be best practice, you're going to punch the right size hole for the right tooth that you're using. So if it's a premolar, you're going for the third kind of hole in the middle. So we punch our 3 holes. And then we want to use scissors to connect the holes. Now when I first ever did a split dam, I thought, everyone does a triangle. Why do they do a triangle? An arch form is an arch form. I'm going to do an arch form because I think I know what I'm doing. Bad idea, don't do that. There's a reason why everyone does a triangle. If you do an arch form, you don't get enough dam to retract the lip. By you doing a triangle, you get enough dam to retract the lip. So, yeah, I thought I was a smart ass and I was a dumb ass instead. So we connect our holes, and there we go. We create kind of an upside down triangle. So the point of the triangle is going to be where the incisors are. Can you see how that all comes together? And when I hold it up, it really reminds me of a stingray. You know when you see those pictures of a stingray at the aquarium when it's like up against the glass? You're going to see it now. There it is. You see what I mean? So there's your split dam, okay? I'll show you now how to place that. So here's a video. I shot these years ago with my assistant at the time. She was incredibly patient. So on goes the W2 clamp. Obviously we always floss our clamps. The floss is just clear in this case. But yes, we should always floss our clamps. So on goes the W2 clamp, on goes the other W2 clamp. She was so tolerant, she was brilliant. Thank you, Anna. Anyway, split dam is ready to go on. So the split dam is loaded onto the frame already. Now, with the triangle that we've drawn, sometimes if your patient's got really thick lips or they've had a lot of filler or something, just really thick lips, you might need to do a slightly squatter triangle. Like that triangle is like an equilateral, right? Sometimes you might need to do like an isosceles, like a bit of a shorter one, okay? So here, we're aiming to put our punched holes around the teeth. Now, when I was filming these videos, she was sat upright and I was working back behind her blind. I couldn't actually see what I was doing. So you can see here, the hole is in the wrong place. You see that? The hole is sat in the palate. See, that's the punched hole. We want to get that round behind the distal of that 5 where it belongs. And then suddenly when it goes round, oh, it's in the right place. And still, with split dam, we want to invert it. So you still get your flat plastic, you use your air, blow the air and use your flat plastic, and you just kind of tuck that bit of dam up underneath, and that will invert underneath the lip and it will stop any saliva and stuff coming down. And then, I mean, split dam, honestly, it goes on, you can see that went on in like minutes or even less.